I call this regular Board of Education meeting to order on Monday, November 17th, 2025 at 6 p.m. If we could all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. If we could get a roll call, please.
Mindy Hartman,
Here.
Dee Darling,
Here.
Bridget Sandlin, Jason Jancic is absent, Julie Jetty,
Here.
Stacy Salt, Catherine Potter.
Here.
Okay, next up, we have community input. It looks like there was nobody that signed up today, so we'll move on to the next, which is open forum for the board.
We really want to do this now.
There were no FOIA requests for this month. Next up, we have board member comment, Mrs. Hartman.
Well, I'm really looking forward to this Veterans Day thing. I feel like I've seen a teaser twice. No, it's been great. Just happy Thanksgiving to everyone. I hope everyone has lovely conferences with your children's teachers. I hope everyone is happy, safe, gets some time with their family, and otherwise, that's what I've got tonight.
Thank you. Mrs. Jetty?
I really like when I'm paging through Facebook. I know that's maybe a little old school these days, but it's me. And I see a little blurb from each of the different schools of stuff our children have done in the classroom or projects. Um, you know, it, Years ago, the Northwest Herald used to come out with a whole section on Saturday of the community, they called it, and all these pictures would be in there every week and stuff. We've, I know newsprint is not, nobody does it anymore, but it is nice to see those pictures of what's going on in the school. So who's ever doing that, along with the Spanish language translation on the marquee, it's really nice. That's a good touch for the school. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Potter?
Thank you. I guess since it's almost Thanksgiving, I do want to say that I'm really grateful and feeling really thankful to be able to serve our community and for them to be giving our district the support that they do. I do also want to say that I'm thankful for this superintendent team, Dr. Thomas, Ms. Rivera, Mr. Shepherd, for stepping up and filling in. This has been just so good, and you guys work so well together. And I know that I'm thankful for the work that you've put in, and just everything has been great. Dr. Thomas, you sit there, nobody knows policy like you do. And to sit there and answer all my questions the way that you do and the patience that you show with me is something that I'm thankful. Ms. Rivera, I've been very thankful for seeing the different things that you're doing. That you have got so many teams and committees that you're on, and the informal walkthroughs, that all of the different ways that plugged in to all of the different goals of the strategic plan, top to bottom. It was like I was just checking off all of these different things. I was so impressed by that. And it's it's great. And Mr. Shepherd, to when I first got on this board, you're like the fourth finance officer that we've had since I've been on this board. And every single audit that the district has gone through, the annual audit since you've gotten here, has gotten better. To have, we'll go over that, but I guess I'm thankful for that. And my opinion of you is unmodified as well. So again, thank you, and for everybody serving on this board. And I'm sorry that this took so long, but there's just a lot to feel thankful for. And sometimes it's hard to remember that. So Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Sandlin.
Oh, you made me follow her with that? Come on. No, I reiterate her thank yous as well. And just everyone have a great, happy, safe Thanksgiving. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Saul.
I just have one thing. I am so lucky that my work route takes me past Aldi every day. So watching them dig piles is so exciting. And today there was a semi. So that's my celebration every day, Monday through Friday. It's awesome.
Thank you. And again, I'll just reiterate with the board, I wishing all of our Cary community a happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy spending time with your loved ones. Speaking from personal experience, you never know when they're not going to be around anymore. So cherish these times that you have together. Next up, we have the superintendent report, Dr. Thomas.
I have just a couple quick things. I want to just remind everybody, we've been putting information out about Parent Square, which is our new mass communication platform that we're going to be using. It can be accessed a number of ways through text, phone, email, online, and there's also an app which is actually very handy to use and very easy. It translates languages. It's 100 and some languages. So while we often do all of our communications in both English and Spanish, this can be for any parent in any language that they need. And we do have quite a few languages represented in our district. So I think that'll be really helpful. We're going to be doing a test probably the week after next to send out a test message to make sure it works. On the off chance that we have inclement weather that we need to reach out to people or anything else, we'll have the ability to do that. And I do with that want to say a special thank you to 3 people who were instrumental in getting this moving very quickly. And that is Jessica Neal, Andy Fitzsimmons, and Laura Dorfler did a lot of legwork getting this up and running. So thank you all. Just a reminder, there's conferences next week on the 24th and 25th, Monday and Tuesday, followed by Thanksgiving break. No school on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And I want to wish everybody a very happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Next up, we have our teaching and learning report, Ms. Rivera.
Just a friendly reminder that this Friday report cards go live. We'll be sending home a notification tomorrow, just reminding parents how to access the digital report card. Last week, we had 2 celebrations. It was World Kindness Week, and right there in the middle of the week was World Kindness Day. And I think it was like a year or 2 ago, you had mentioned, I think it was Three Oaks that had done the I in Kind, and you had said it would just be great if like we could do something district-wide, everyone. So here it is today. I'm going to highlight with you. There's a video that celebrates our veterans, and just I know that Veterans Day is a core value to us here in Cary 26. And so I like to highlight that in addition to highlighting what the district did for putting the I in Kind. So I'm going to start this now for like the 4th time. If I can get it to start from the beginning. Okay, here we go. This is Veterans Day. I'm going to follow that one up with World Kindness Day here in Cary 26 as well. Let's try and get the volume. It is. Okay. I just want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Thank you to all of our educators, teachers, administrators. Thank you to Jessica Neal, who is the one that put together both of these videos for us and is out in the schools capturing these moments. So I was about to say Merry Christmas. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Let's not rush it. All right, next up, we have the Committee of the Whole reports. Basically, everything that we're talking about tonight. We had the Treasurer's Report briefing. The actual Treasurer's Report will be presented tonight. We had a lot of policies that we reviewed as far as press, which are going to be on here. Discuss the McAid IGA. Had our tax levy presentation and the resolution authorizing the levy for special education purposes. Next up, we have the consent agenda. Included are those items that are routine in nature. Should any board member wish to remove an item from the consent agenda, the item will be discussed at the end of section 8. 7.1 are the open session minutes from October 27th, 2025, the regular Board of Education meeting. 7.2 are the open closed session minutes from April 21st, June 23rd, and June 30th, and August 25th of 2025 Board of Education meetings. 7.3 are total bills and payroll for approval in the amount of $2,224,918.61. 7.4 is the treasurer's report. 7.5 are the resignation, dismissal, retirements. 7.6 is employment. 7.7 are the destruction of closed meeting audio recordings. 7.8 are the disposal of assets. There were none. 7.9 is the state maintenance grant fiscal year 26. 7.10 is the acceptance of the fiscal year 25 audit. 7.11 are policies 2-120, 2-150, 2-270, 410, 430, 480, 510, 590, 5-100, 5-200, 5-280, 5-300, 620, 640, 660, 6-130, 6-160, 6-210, 6-280, 770, 7-150, 7-180, 7-190, 7-290, and 830. May I have a motion to approve the following: 7.1, 7.2, 7.3, 7.4, 7.5, 7.6, 7.7, 7.8, 7.9, 7.10, and 7.11.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, if we could take a vote, please.
Dee Darling?
Yes.
Bridget Sandlin?
Yes.
Julie Jettie?
Yes.
Stacy Salt?
Yeah.
Catherine Potter?
Yes.
Mindy Hartman?
Yes.
Okay, that motion is approved. Next up, we have agenda items that are requiring discussion and board approval. First, we have the approval of the revised McAid IGA. Dr. Thomas.
So this updated IGA had some additions or changes, I would say, that primarily had to do with the Attorney General's role in this. So initially in the agreement, the Attorney General was listed as a partner, but they clarified that really they would serve more in an advisory capacity. As you remember, the McAid Alliance is for if there is a catastrophic event in any of the school districts or CEDM within McHenry County, that all of the other districts would provide support and help in whatever way they can, whatever way is requested, whether that be sending counselors, sending transportation, and things like that. The Attorney General isn't really a partner because they don't have those types of services to send, but they would be on hand for consult and anything that we needed from them. So they did ask for a couple of updates. So really, those are what the updates are related to.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the revised McAid IGA as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, if we could take a vote, please.
Bridget Sandlin,
Yes.
Julie Jettie,
Yes.
Stacy Salt,
Yeah.
Catherine Potter,
Yes.
Mindy Hartman,
Yes.
Dee Darling.
Yes, that motion is approved. Next up, we have the 2025 tax levy presentation and hearing. Mr. Shepherd.
Yeah, so there wasn't many changes made to the original presentation that was given a couple weeks ago in October. So we're going to go through this fairly quickly, and I'll highlight the changes from the original presentation. So again, this fits in with Goal 5, fiscal responsibility. As we'll discuss in just a bit, the tax levy provides us with the resources for a large portion of the revenue that the school district takes in. Our goal is always maintaining a balanced budget, deliberately budgeting and recruiting and retaining exceptional staff, and create a proactive capital improvement plan. This part of it would address almost all of these pillars of this particular goal. Just a quick review on the levy calendar. Tonight, we're going to be holding the hearing and approving the levy. This really is the start of our fiscal year 27 budgeting season. Once we know what our revenues are going to be, we then start working on the expenditure side, which will take us through probably the month of March or April. So what is the tax levy and how is it calculated? Just a brief review. The tax levy is what we are officially asking for. So we are going to submit our request by the end of December. What we actually receive is called the tax extension. So in the fall, we will give our levy request, our levy, and in the spring, the county will extend the taxes to the taxing body. That's what we receive. A district's levy is determined by the following factors: the prior year extension, the CPI, equalized assessed value of property, and any new property that's come on the books. So the key information that we need to cover is the prior year extension was a little over 27.5 million. We had originally asked for 27.7 million. The 2024 CPI figure, which our levy is based on, is 2.9%. The EAV, this is the highlighted change from the previous presentation, went up slightly from our original estimate. That was this is based on new information that we received from both Lake and McHenry County. It went up slightly. I believe the previous figure was 7.95%. This one is 8.13. New construction remains at 1.6. The actual new construction for this area is going to be less than the 1.6 million, but it's imperative that the district inflate that number to make sure we're capturing all new property that's coming on the tax rolls. And just a reminder, these figures do not include debt. So this slide just shows you how all of this fits together to determine what the district can actually expect to receive from the tax levy. The CPI figure is really the driving force here. So again, you see how we take the prior year extension and multiply that by the CPI figure. We then take that figure in step 2 and divide it by the EAV minus new property. That gives us a tax rate. And you can see that the tax rate changed ever so slightly. It was at 2.88% exactly before, and now it's at 2.8752%. To determine how much the district can expect, you take the EAV and multiply it by that rate, and we can expect to receive a little over $28.3 million for the upcoming year. And again, this process repeats each year with this process. I like this slide because this shows the relationship between EAV change, CPI, and tax rate. And you'll notice the one constant on this chart is CPI. That's really the driving force. So if your CPI is higher, that means the district could receive more in tax revenue. If it's lower, the district won't receive quite as much. And hopefully we'll never have an experience where the CPI is negative because that could actually mean that our revenues could contract rather than expand. The tax rate and EAV are designed to mirror each other. So if the tax rate goes down, the EAV is going up. And if the tax rate's going up, it means EAV is going down. So we're going to hit a couple of statistical slides now. For CPI, the historical average is actually a little over 2.5%. And that's despite the somewhat varied swings in CPI growth. We actually use 2.5% to 3% in our projections based on these averages. So historically, EAV, you could see 2025, we're at somewhat of a high point. 2014, that's when housing area property values were bottoming out from the 2008 crash. And as a result, you'll see the inverse on the tax rate slide. You'll notice the tax rate was highest in 2014 when property values were lower. And you can see how the tax rate has slowly come down as property values have gone up. So why is the tax levy so important to our district? We know that we are primarily locally funded. Local funding accounts for almost a little over 80% of our revenues, and 70% of that comes directly from property tax resources. This source of income provides the resources needed to maintain and enhance our programs for students and funds our education, operation, maintenance, and transportation, and Social Security and IMRF funds. These are known as our operating funds. As we've discussed prior, capital improvements are not part of this funding source. That had to be funded separately, which again, we thank the community for their support of our previous referendum. So this is our estimated tax levy, and these are the figures that the board will be approving tonight. You can see a large portion of our property tax revenues go into the education fund. That's our largest fund. We did drop the education fund ask slightly from previous years, meaning the amount of growth in the education fund is less than what's been seen in the past. But that's because we needed to take some of those funds and move them towards operation and maintenance, towards transportation, and IMRF Social Security. IMRF Social Security and transportation were in deficit this past year. Those were planned deficits, but we need to make sure that we're funding those sources so that we're not drawing their fund balances down too low. So the estimated tax levy shapes out like this. Again, almost 80% of the revenues go to our education fund, which is the fund that has the direct impact on our students. A little over 9% goes to operation maintenance, 4.6% to transportation, and the rest goes to Social Security, IMRF. So again, just within the education fund, this is how these the expenditures shape out. So of that 80% that really goes into the education fund, these are the things that it's funding. Okay, salaries and employee benefits account for almost 80% of the education fund and our budget in that regard. The rest goes towards curricular materials, supplies, and other things that our staff need in order to be successful in working with our students. So our debt history, you can see how it steadily went down. And Ms. Jetty, I tried to get it to separate out 2024 so that we could highlight the zero in there. It wasn't working for me. So I'm just going to mention that the district was debt-free, and we were able to issue new bonds, of which we'll pay off over the next several years, that will allow us to continue to improve our facilities. But it is quite the accomplishment that the district was debt-free for a very brief time in 2024. At the request of Ms. Potter, this is our per pupil cost. You can see that costs, not surprisingly, have gone up with each passing year. 2025, it cost a little over $14,639 per student. And that's total cost, includes operations, the cost of having electricity when broken out per student. So our levy impact on the taxpayer, again, it's broken down by housing values, and we've provided what our estimated yearly increase is and what that equates to per month. I like to look at the per month figures when I build my budgets. It's always nice to know what things are going up monthly so that I can allocate accordingly. Again, it's important to note that this is just the D26 portion of property taxes. We do not control what the other taxing bodies are asking for. So, quick couple thoughts on the future. CPI is not anticipated to rise to the levels that we're seeing right after COVID. Our interest rate and CPPRT revenue are going to continue to decline. Really, our most reliable source is our property tax revenue. And while it's unfortunate that the state of Illinois has structured their funding mechanisms this way, but this is the way that we fund our schools. We cannot rely on, say, the CPPRT or interest rate revenue. We know that those are not going to be sustainable. There's also obviously revenue concerns at the federal level and also at the state level. New property potential for the future is limited. A large portion of new property potential is actually included in the TIF districts, of which the district won't see those gains for the foreseeable future. New compensation packages are coming up with our union group. We must balance the need to remain competitive with fiscal responsibility. And it is also important to note that further down the line, the district will need to find new sources of revenue for capital projects after our bond funds are spent. We are going to have nice facilities, and we need to make sure that we're putting in resources to maintain those facilities. That's going to require resources. And again, my plug for the countywide facilities sales tax. This would be a huge benefit to not only this district, but other districts in the county. So what do the next 5 years look like? You can see that in the foreseeable future, over the next 2 or 3 years, things remain fairly stable. It does project a slight decline the further out you go, but that's because there's a lot more uncertainty. And we're assuming that the state is going to continue to struggle with its financing. We're also building into this projection that federal resources may not be there. Of course, there's a lot of unknowns the further out you go. I do like the position the district is in the short term, and we're always keeping an eye on what is lying ahead for the long term. So bottom line, 2025 estimated tax levy is $28.49 million. That's 3.44% over last year's extension. For capped funds, the district is asking for an estimated $979,537 over last year's extension. We're expecting to receive just about $850,000 instead. Just keep in mind, we're asking more than what we know we're going to get. Two factors have yet to be determined to calculate the final levy. That's equalized assessed value and total new property. Those are determined in the spring. We're very confident that the estimates we received from the county are correct and that we've inflated it enough to cover any future growth. So our total levy request is 3.15% more than received the prior year, but in actuality, we expect to receive no more than 3% this upcoming year. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
I got two. The new projected development out by Walmart, is that in a TIF area?
That is not in a TIF area. That is actually in D47's boundary area.
Oh, okay. Guess that's good in a sense. Another thing is, our fund balances, at what level would you say, okay, we've got enough fund balance that maybe you would cut back on your levy request?
I would say we're not there yet.
Okay.
I would just, if we could accurately project what's going to happen in the future, I would say that we could start looking at that in the next couple years. However, I don't know if we'll ever get to the point where we're accurately going to be able to say what's going to happen 4 or 5 years from now. We just don't know when there's going to be an economic downturn. We don't know if there's going to be an economic crash where CPI could actually go zero. There's just so many unknowns that that fund balance, yeah, it may seem high to some now. That fund balance is going to be crucial during those down economic times to maintaining the services that we have. So I'm always hesitant to reduce our levy ask. With that said, if and again, I'm going to plug that countywide facility sales tax. There are avenues, if that were to pass, you can use those revenues for a couple purposes. Mostly you can use it for capital improvements or your facilities, but you can also use those funds to abate towards debt. A lot of the money that's raised through that sales tax is coming from people who live outside the county that are traveling through. And there are districts that say, like in Boone County, have provided tax relief through that mechanism of using whatever they take in from that source and giving it back to their taxpayer base. So there's other options that are out there rather than asking for less on the tax levy, which I'm not ready to commit to at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Not a question, more of a comment. Mostly because I've sat through this presentation enough times to have a sense of where it was going. And what is not in this presentation that used to be is the stair step explanation, the reason why we ask for the full extension. That's what's missing. I'm getting some nods over here is the reminder as to why, because I think you've done a really good job educating the board as to why we don't want to skimp on the request, but abating on the back end is actually more fiscally responsible and advantageous for the way we manage the board and manage future finances. So slide's not there. Can you speak to that for just a minute?
Sure. And I will, that's a good point. And I will be sure to bring that slide back for next year's iteration of the tax levy. And it goes back to the slide where it shows how our tax levy is formulated, right? Everything is based on the prior year. So if you ask for less in a particular year, you're actually setting yourself behind where you could be. You're going to set yourself up for getting less and less and less every year because it's compounding, right? Now, without getting too much into the weeds, there is a way to go back and try to recapture. If we ask for less one year, there are avenues for you to go back and try to recapture it later, but that's risky. That's playing with fire. And again, I would not advocate for that approach unless it was absolutely warranted. But yes, everything is built off the prior year. So again, if you ask for less, you're continually setting yourself up for less moving forward into the future. And it does compound into real losses. And I will be making myself a note. You'll be seeing that slide come back next year.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you. All right, so, all right, so we're up to the approval of the resolution to adopt the tax levy for the fiscal year 25.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
Let me get out of here. So the first item up, I believe, is the actual tax levy itself. This is the resolution to approve those figures that we just talked about. It's the actual form that is submitted to the county along with the resolution and all the signature pages that go along with it. But it contains all the information that we just discussed in the hearing.
Perfect. All right, thank you. May I have a motion to approve the resolution to adopt the tax levy fiscal year 2025 as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, if we could take a vote, please.
Julie Jettie,
Yes.
Stacy Salt.
Yes.
Catherine Potter,
Yes.
Mindy Hartman.
Yes.
Dee Darling.
Yes.
Bridget Sandlin.
Yes.
Okay, that motion is approved. Next up, we have the approval of the resolution authorizing the levy for special education purposes for levy year 2025. Mr. Shepherd.
Again, the state allows us to capture some funds for special education purposes. The figure was just approved in the last item, but they also require us to pass a resolution requesting those funds for special education. So you've already approved the number in the previous item. You just need to take care of the resolutions and signature pages that go along with this.
Okay, perfect. May I have a motion to approve the resolution authorizing levy for special education purposes for levy year 2025 as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, if we could take a vote, please.
Julie Jettie.
Yes.
Stacy Salt.
Yes.
Catherine Potter,
Yes.
Mindy Hartman.
Yes.
Dee Darling.
Yes,
Bridget Sandlin.
Yes.
that motion is approved. Next up, we have the approval of policy 7340 student records. Dr. Thomas.
Thank you. So we had a discussion at the committee of the whole about this particular policy. There was a change on the first page that changed the word officers to professionals. And there was some concern about that regarding who has those records and who's maintaining those. And so I did reach out to the attorney about that to get some clarification. And she said, as we had talked about last week, that it was to align the policy with the state law. But she said in general, it's really, this is who in a school can maintain records, and the only police or at all that are in schools are resource officers. So she said, really, whether you call it officers or professionals, the professionals aligns it with state law, which is why she recommended that we do that, which is what press recommended. However, she said functionally, it doesn't really matter because the person who's doing it, if they're in the schools, is going to be a resource officer. In District 26, we don't have any resource officers on staff. So in our district, we don't even have anybody who would fill that role. So we do consult with the resource officer at Cary Grove High School periodically. However, they don't maintain any of our records because they work for the high school. So our recommendation is to accept press and accept the change from officers to professionals. But as I said, the attorney said functionally it won't make a difference. So if the board prefers to stick with what it is also fine.
Okay. May I have a motion to approve policy 7340 student records as presented?
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? I think it was Catherine.
I'll take it.
Hearing no discussion, if we could take a vote, please.
Stacy Salt,
Yes.
Catherine Potter,
Yes.
Mindy Hartman,
Yes.
Dee Darling,
Yes.
Bridget Sandlin, Julie Jettie.
Yes.
Okay, that motion is approved. We have one topic for discussion, and that is the school report card update. Ms. Rivera.
All right, I get to wrap up the board meeting with a celebration. That is the takeaway with today's presentation regarding our 24-25 Illinois School Report Card. So I'm going to start off with who we are here in Cary 26, and this is a reflection of our demographics, as you will see on the Illinois Report Card. The trend is stayed the same comparatively from last year to this year. You'll notice that when I get to the breakdown of proficiency, I will use this chart to reflect our top 5 demographics. Our strategic priorities are our focus area. So everything that you're going to see in this presentation is in alignment with our strategic goals here in Cary 26. So understanding the Illinois report card, let's start there. Our report card, 75% is made up of academic indicators, 25% is made up of school quality and student success indicators. Essentially, each of these indicators are weighted, and then based on the point value in those weights, that's how we get our overall designations. Here in Cary 26, we fall under exemplary and commendable. Briargate has moved back up to exemplary. The only difference between the two categories is exemplary is you are performing in the top 10% of all schools in the state of Illinois. That is the only difference. It is a celebration for both of them because what it means is that there are no targeted student groups at or below the lowest performing 5% of schools. Most schools are going to fall under commendable or even targeted support. We definitely want to stay in that commendable, if not exemplary. So job well done. So understanding the updates to the Illinois state testing, there were some updates that were done, and I'm going to try to capture those in a nutshell, but please feel free to ask questions if you have them. As you know, when we look at IAR, which is testing reading, math, and science, they give you proficiency scores and they give you growth scores. Proficiency this year with IAR has shifted. That means we cannot compare the data from this year to previous years. It starts over fresh, brand new. There's no comparison because the benchmarks have shifted. Now, what stays the same is the growth data. You can compare still growth over time. This is what the performance levels were previously. When parents received their report home, the students who were third through fifth grade, whether it was IAR or ISA is the Illinois Science Assessment, they were broken into these different categories of does not meet, partially meets, approaches, meets, and exceeds. Notice there's no continuity between these assessments. Then you get to the high school and they were taking the SAT, and now they had different performance levels. It was all over the place. There was misalignment, and the state basically was like, we need to fix this and address this. So they did. It is now coherent from third grade all the way to 12th grade. It is in alignment now. So these are their new unified performance levels. What I'm going to talk about now, though, is when you're looking at those levels, there has to be a benchmark, right? So from below proficient to approaching, that little white line in between, that's called a benchmark. From approaching to proficient, right in between, that's a benchmark. And then from proficient to above proficient, that little line in the middle, that's a benchmark. That's the next slide. So here we have the old benchmarks, and then we have the new benchmarks. If you're looking for more information beyond what I'm going through right here, I have hyperlinked on the right side resources. I've hyperlinked both the benchmark, the right size Illinois proficiency benchmark slides, in addition to the webinar that'll go into much more in-depth detail if that's what you're looking for. But essentially with the realignment of their benchmarks, what you're seeing right here with the old and the new, that would be that line in between approaching and proficient. So the numbers here are basically telling you what does a student in third grade need to achieve in order to be identified as proficient. They would need to have achieved a 735 on ELA in third grade. That's what these numbers are reflecting. It used to be noticed 750 across the board. They just said, hey, 750, and then everybody has to get that. What they recognize is when they looked at Illinois, we actually had the most restrictive benchmarks in comparison to all other states across the nation. We were at the very high, we literally were at the top of the high end of benchmarks. And then they were like, wait a minute, pause. We need to rebalance that to make it more attainable, because we know that when we don't set attainable goals, stay tuned, a couple slides, you'll see what happened. So here, what you see now, cut score is the benchmark. Cut score are those numbers of what you need in order to achieve that particular level, performance level. So again, if you are in third grade and you are seeking to understand what would an above proficient be, they would have to have achieved at least a 780. The range for above proficient is 780 to 850. I'm just going right across on that chart. So that's how you read and interpret this. Again, if you're looking for additional benchmark cut scores, I linked them all on the right. You have ELA, math, and science available there. I only screenshot third through fifth, but you have all of them right there at your fingertips.
Can I just ask a question?
Yeah.
Because if you are a third grader and you are proficient in ELA, does that mean you have mastered a certain amount of the standards?
So remember, IR is are you on path for college and career readiness, right? It's not like, have you mastered all? It's, are you on track and on par with college and career readiness?
Okay.
So if a student is demonstrating proficiency, then they are at that appropriate grade level for being on track for college and career readiness. To your point, though, not everybody goes to college, right? And that's okay. If they're performing below proficient, that doesn't mean like, oh, okay, let's raise the red flags. What it means is, what's the MTSS win time support to help bridge that gap? And that's where we start to look at data. It just means that we've got gaps that we need to address. That doesn't mean that the next year they're not going to be on track for college and career readiness. This is just kind of like a what do you call that? A thermometer check. Right? To help us understand, are we ensuring, it's an accountability system. Are we preparing our students to go to college if in fact that's what they're choosing to do? That may not be what they're choosing to do, right? But it is an accountability system for us versus nothing at all.
Yeah.
And then we don't know where our kids are.
Okay.
So this is why they recalibrated the benchmarks, right? So what was happening is they were identifying students as not proficient. And so you hear some examples that they provided that's in the webinar that I linked in the previous slide. But here's a student Naperville North High School was in 7 AP classes, 2 industry certifications, basketball, competitive, marching band, volunteer, but they were designated as not proficient in both English, English language arts, and math. Their GPA was at a 3.9, right? So there's another example right there. And what they said was, had these kids listened to what IAR was saying, they may not have gone on to college, but the reality is they did. The student from Naperville North High School graduated and wound up going to the University of Missouri. The other student wound up going to John Wood Community College. So they were noticing that there was a mislabeling on the students. And so that's where they said, wait, let's pump the brakes. If we have the most restrictive benchmarks, we need to recalibrate ourselves to make it more attainable. Now we're going to address the elephant in the room. Some people say they just lowered the bar. It depends on how you look at it, right? It depends on it. You're right. If I can't do 100 sit-ups in 60 seconds, I'm going to lower the bar to make it attainable, or else I'm going to feel defeated because I've never will be able to achieve that goal. And that's kind of the way we can choose which way we're looking at it, but it's about attainable goals here. And it's not the World Series, it's a thermometer for helping us figure out whether or not they're on the track for college and career readiness. So let's get to our data now that I got the business part out of the way. Celebrating our proficiency. We're going to start with proficiency. Basically, thermostat, right? Did they get it? Are they there? Still room for growth. So based on old cut scores, because I knew you would appreciate knowing where we were in comparison to the old cut scores. So you get 2 data points, old cut scores and then the new cut scores. Old cut scores, you'll see we were still on track with improvement, right? We were at 46% last year. On our old cut scores, we continued to add more students to that proficient range and made it up to 48%. With the new cut scores, hey, we're at a 60% proficiency here in Cary 26. So that means 60% of our student population are demonstrating that grade level proficiency. And we'll continue to support everyone else, right? This is a what do you call a marathon, not a race. So here I did a breakdown of our top demographics, and basically the takeaway, what I'm seeing from here is this supports the need for us to really hone in on differentiation, right? We can no longer just teach to the middle of the road and just here, this is how we're teaching, one size fits all. We can't do that. We have different demographics, and even within any demographic, students are going to learn differently. And so really what this helps me understand is more professional learning surrounding differentiation and how to meet the varying learning needs of our students. So now we're going to go to math. Again, we're on that upwards trend. We are at 30% proficient last year. We're at 32% this year. With the new cut scores, hey, went up to 43% proficient here in Cary 26. We are headed in the right direction, right? This is what we want to see. Our teachers, shout out to all of them, have been working tirelessly with a lot of what we've been doing here in Cary 26. And I think, as you know, 2 years ago, we started heavy with literacy and it's reflecting in our scores. Now we're layering on the math. So hopefully we'll see that coming up the following year. Again, demographics, again, shows me the same thing as before, the need for differentiation. What you're seeing here, 8th graders passing Algebra 1. They say, you know, Algebra 1 is a gateway course because students typically need to pass Algebra 1 before they can move on to higher level math or science courses. So what this reflects is we've got 42.6% of our students' populations who are passing algebra. Now we checked, it's not that students are failing algebra, it's 42.6% of our student population have taken algebra and passed because our students have passed, right? But that leads us to see, could we get more students gaining access into algebra by 8th grade? That could be a goal for us, right? That's what this tells me, is how do we continue to tighten our math instruction so that more students are gaining access to algebra by 8th grade? Because then that helps support the track that they go into in high school, where if they don't get to algebra by 8th grade, then they're doing that in high school, which it just means that they aren't going to see some of the other math courses. So the goal is to get more students into algebra if it's appropriate for them and their learning. I just wanted to be clear that this does not mean that the other half of the percent is our kids are failing. That just means they weren't in that class. So science, ELA and math, those benchmarks came down a little bit, right? For science, what they recognized, the benchmark was too low. So they actually raised the benchmark for science. So it went the opposite direction. So that's why you see a dip in our scores. So we were at 67% proficient last year based on the old cut scores, and based on the new cut scores, we're at 54% because they raised that benchmark bar in science. So that's what that means. Here's our McHenry County comparison. So again, celebration. Hey, in ELA, we are ranking, I want to say 5th. In comparison to all the other districts in McHenry County. I did extract high school out of there because they don't take IAR, so it wouldn't be comparable. So these are strictly comparing schools that take IAR. If there's an asterisk next to it, it's because they're a unit district, K-12. And then in math, again, we are, I want to say 6, 2, 4, 6, yep, ranked 6th. All right, so now I'm going to pivot over to growth, student growth. Remember, proficiency is just, did they meet the benchmark or not? Growth now is assessing, all students grow. That's neither here nor there. All students grow. What this is assessing, it's a percentile. On average, how much are our students growing in comparison to other students in Illinois who start at the same benchmark as they did the year before? Right. And so here on average, students in Cary 26, they grew more than 52.6% of their academically similar peers from across Illinois. That's great. Average, Illinois will say average is 40 to 60. And so what this means is our students are maintaining their year-to-year growth, right? Where we want to look at this, and this is where iReady comes in, students who are performing below grade level, we actually want to see a year and a half worth of growth, right? To help close that gap. But all in all, we are doing well. And then math, same thing. On average, students in Cary 26 grew more than 53.2% of their academically similar peers from across Illinois. So again, we are in that average range of student growth. So I'm going to shift over to the last parts of our school designations, which is chronic absenteeism and the climate survey. Another celebration. Our numbers for students who are chronically absent, which as defined by Illinois is the percentage of students who miss 10% or more of school days per year. And that's with or without a valid excuse, which means 18 days on average for 180 school days.
So even if you have a
Even if you
throat,
you
that's
got
one
it.
of those days.
You got it.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. But we've noticed that we have decreased our numbers of students who are showing up as chronically absent. And then even in compared to the state, you know, we're improving, we're doing better. Obviously, there's still 13.4% of students that we want to not ignore, right? But those are case by case scenarios that we have to look at now individually. For those reasons, if a student's out because they had strep and then got hit with COVID or then got hit with the flu, like, okay, like we can't be hard on those families, right? So we handle those on a case by case scenario. 5 Essential survey is actually up in comparison to last year. Last year, the top 2 effective leaders and collaborative teachers, we were actually in the weak area last year. This year across the board, it's at neutral. So, I mean, take it as a celebration, right? Because we weren't, you know, there's glass is always half full. But in delving into the actual results, I will say the fact that we have been working on collective efficacy fits perfectly on what some of our lowest categories in the climate survey is. Now, just to be clear, the climate survey in the 5 in our report card, it is just based not on how the students report or what they select. It's based on the percentage of students who participated in the climate survey. And we did meet the minimum quota for that. So we got all our points for 5 Essential survey. All right. So our mission is basically to continue to carry forward. Business as usual. What we have been doing is working. And so we're going to stay the course. Strategic plan that has been set has been the roadmap and the guide. The instructional framework that came from that work has also been a roadmap and a guide. And so truly you'll see the goals, whether it's instructional or whether professional, we're continuing on the same track that we have been on because we are seeing the results that we, set out to see 2 years ago when we did the strategic plan. Every learner, every day, aligned systems and shared growth. That's been our goal for the past couple years here. I will take any questions, but first, please know there are additional resource links at the very end. Just different tools and things that I used with this presentation. So if anybody is wanting to delve deeper into understanding the Illinois report card, it is right there for you. So with that, any questions?
I don't have any questions. I just think it's so exciting. I mean, I don't recall a couple years ago anybody being so excited about getting this back. And like now we're 2 years in a row of such big growth. And that's really all that matters is we're going up.
Yes.
We're getting the results of server. We're not going down. We're going higher than other districts around us. So it's just really exciting. You guys are doing so amazing.
I'm going to do a little shout out and just say, like, again, kudos to our teachers, to our students, to our admin team, to all of you, right, for your work with the strategic plan. I have had districts reach out and asking questions of, what are you doing over there that's working? Because we saw your IAR scores, like, what are you doing? So I have been able to engage in some of those conversations, which then I walk out of the office and come and celebrate with the team because I'm like, it's all your hard work. So thank you to truly everybody across Cary 26 for their hard work. It's a big celebration.
And your leadership.
I say thank you for celebrating all of our district and what you do. This is phenomenal. I'm stuck on the chronic absenteeism slide because this looks absurd. I know that's not anything anyone in this room said, but it's if you go back and look at 2020 when there were only 3.3% because everyone's staying home, like this becomes a little bit absurd. So I just needed to vent that out. Otherwise, it's phenomenal to see some growth. I think it'll be more exciting next year when we're actually comparing a little bit more apples to apples and have a cohort to compare rather than the shift and the shift and the shift, but up is up and that's great.
I'm most impressed with the fact that we threw a lot at our staff this year, a lot at our teachers to change literally everything that they were doing. And we still came out like it's obvious that it's working. What you've got in place is working. So amazing. Thank you. Hearing anything else?
I'm going to say that this is something to celebrate, and I'm going to start with that. And very congratulations to everybody and the students. I know that we were so upset about the chronic absenteeism when it was like fully explained to us. We were like, how can this be? That's 25% of this. So it's actually a shame that they changed the, indicators, right? But they didn't change that chronic absenteeism number, that's a shame, I feel. But I am really excited about moving forward and seeing how this is going to work because that iReady is, we haven't seen the IAR taken with that, with the differentiation and I anticipate that that's going to prepare our students more, and that we should only continue to improve it as a district in every kind of way. What was I thinking? It had to do with, I believe, iReady, but it slipped my mind, so I'm really sorry. It'll come to me. I'll email you. I'm sure of it.
Well, I would just like to say, I can't speak for everybody else on the board, but as we go into where we're starting to see candidates for the new superintendent, one of my goals is that this new person will jump on the bandwagon with this and keep it moving forward, but not want to reinvent the wheel. So, I mean, that's my personal goal in selecting a new superintendent.
Any other comments?
I remembered.
Okay.
It's super petty. But I'm here. There was, at the time the IAR was being taken in the schools, some of our students have keyboards, and some don't. And were you able to see any kind of, I guess the question is with the kids who had access to the keyboards and the kids who did not, was there any kind of score difference that you saw, that maybe the keyboard helped them or it did not help them in the essay, answering short answer sections of that exam?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. Keyboards, once that was part of the tech plan, right? And we got each school a batch of keyboards. What we have communicated to our admin and our teachers is if the students, they schedule their testing so the students have access to the keyboards. So if a student typically uses the keyboard in their instructional practice, then they should have access to that during the testing time. I've walked around our classrooms. Not everybody wants to use a keyboard. So by no means during IAR am I going to force you to use a keyboard, right? So students who are more comfortable with using their iPad in that capacity, because that's what works for them, we allow them to test in that capacity. Students that prefer the keyboard, they do have access to the keyboard. So no, we haven't seen the difference between using a keyboard or not using a keyboard. We give the students the autonomy to make that choice and that decision. We don't want to force something upon them new during the testing window. Just like we don't do that with accommodations either, right? If a student has specific accommodations throughout the school year, those are the accommodations they get on IAR. We are not going to layer on a brand new accommodation on IAR specifically for IAR because they would not be familiar with the use of that. So to answer your question, I don't have the specifics of comparing students to, I would have to go and figure out which student used a keyboard versus didn't use a physical keyboard, but they have the access to if that is their preference. Instruction.
I guess if you were ever to be curious, because I'm not asking you to go back, I was just seeing if any kind of like numbers popped out to
Yeah.
you. Is fifth grade then was, I think it was, they were the first class to have the keyboards
Attached to their,
attached to the iPad,
right.
perhaps.
But then we had the class set in the libraries that plug in.
Yeah.
It was part of the tech plan. And then the students, they have the keyboards there as well. So even though the other students didn't have a keyboard attached to their iPads, if they wanted to use it, they had the opportunity to.
That's good.
But yeah, but I don't have those numbers. That sounds like a really good dissertation at
It's-
some point.
Yeah, don't worry about it. I was just seeing if anything popped out about it, because it had come up that
Yeah, that's a good question.
that window comes up and then the keyboard comes up and all that room. So I was just wondering. Thank you very much.
Mhm.
If there's no other comments for that presentation. May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Yes.
Okay, this meeting adjourns at 7:03 PM. Have a good evening, everyone.